Every day, we throw our trash away without thinking about what happens next. But what if garbage trucks suddenly disappeared from the streets for just 1 week? A modern city could be pushed to the edge of an environmental disaster. To deal with millions of tons of waste, engineers had to create a machine that does far more than simply carry garbage. It lifts it, loads it, compresses it, and transports it with incredible efficiency. Behind its ordinary appearance is a complex mechanism and an incredibly strong structure designed to work day after day without stopping. Today, we're going inside this machine to discover how one of the most important vehicles in modern cities actually works. It's early morning. The city is still asleep. Suddenly, the silence of a residential street is shattered by the deafening clang.
Behind the steel panels of the truck are flexible hoses filled with a special hydraulic fluid. This is the heart of the machine's hydraulic system. The truck's engine powers a massive pump. The pump forces the hydraulic fluid through narrow pipes at incredible speed. The pressure can rise to hundreds of atmospheres. A stream of liquid under that kind of pressure can be powerful enough to cut through solid material. The basic principle of hydraulics is surprisingly easy to understand. Imagine a medical syringe. If you fill it with water and block the opening with your finger, you can't simply compress the liquid. Water is essentially incompressible. But now imagine connecting a small syringe to a much larger one using a tube. That's when the magic of physics begins. A small amount of force applied to the small piston can create a much greater force on the larger piston. That same principle allows a garbage truck to lift enormous containers weighing hundreds of kilograms. But this technology wasn't always so advanced. Back in the 1930s, an American inventor named George Dempster wanted to completely transform the way cities collected waste. He had seen workers destroying their backs as they struggled to lift heavy garbage containers into trucks. So Dempster developed one of the world's first mechanical lifting systems for garbage trucks. It was a revolutionary breakthrough. But the first real-world tests almost destroyed the entire idea.
People began throwing incredibly heavy objects into the containers. Broken cast iron rails, chunks of concrete, massive pieces of construction stone. The steel arms of early machines bent under the weight. Hydraulic hoses couldn't handle the pressure and burst, spraying hot oil across the streets. Machines were constantly breaking down. Cities were at risk of becoming buried under their own garbage because of unexpected heavy objects hidden inside the containers. That's when engineers introduced an ingenious solution: automatic pressure release valves. They work like a safety fuse. If the mechanical arm grabs a container that is simply too heavy to lift, the pressure inside the hydraulic system instantly rises toward a critical level. At that exact moment, the safety valve opens. The excess hydraulic fluid is released back into the reservoir. The lifting motion stops, and the machine's steel joints are protected from catastrophic damage. But even with these safety systems, every single lift puts enormous stress on the machine.
Imagine the crushing sound of a massive wooden cabinet being squeezed until it collapses like a cardboard box. A heavy steel plate weighing several tons moves forward under immense hydraulic pressure. Anything standing in its path is crushed. Furniture is reduced to fragments within seconds. Plastic containers collapse, metal cans are flattened. And you can almost hear the thick walls of the truck groaning under the enormous force. The machine is literally forcing the waste of an entire neighborhood into a compact mass. The secret is extreme compression. Think about walking through snow in winter. When you pick up loose snow, it takes up a lot of space. But squeeze it tightly between your hands, and suddenly you have a small, dense snowball. A garbage truck does essentially the same thing. It can reduce the volume of waste dramatically, allowing the truck to carry far more garbage than an ordinary container could hold. Inside the mechanism is a multi-stage compression system. The first plate gathers the waste. The second pushes it deep into the body of the truck with enormous force. Plastic bottles collapse with a sharp crack.
In the 1930s, garbage was still being transported in open vehicles. American inventor Garfield Wood noticed a major problem. A large portion of the waste simply blew away in the wind. The streets became even dirtier after the garbage trucks passed. Residents constantly complained about flying dust, scattered trash, and terrible sanitation. It was becoming a major public health problem. Then, engineers began developing enclosed garbage bodies equipped with hydraulic compression systems. This changed waste collection forever. The new technology dramatically increased efficiency while preventing garbage from escaping onto the streets. Modern garbage trucks use powerful hydraulic cylinders to push massive steel plates forward. The force can reach tens of tons. To survive these extreme loads, engineers use high-strength steel and reinforce the truck body with thick structural ribs. The goal is simple. The truck must be strong enough to contain enormous forces without tearing itself apart. But extreme compression creates another hidden danger. As tons of garbage are squeezed together, they begin releasing a toxic and highly corrosive liquid. This liquid can attack metal, and if it isn't contained, it can destroy the truck from the inside. So what secret weapon did engineers hide at the very bottom of the machine to stop this invisible enemy? Segment 6. The toxic liquid inside the truck. Imagine a hot summer afternoon in the middle of a busy street. Suddenly, cloudy drops begin falling from beneath the rear of a garbage truck. Within seconds, the air fills with a horrible smell. Pedestrians cover their faces. Under the crushing pressure of the hydraulic plate, a dangerous chemical mixture is being created. Engineers call it leachate. This dark liquid contains moisture from rotting food, chemicals, oils, and countless other substances. And it can be far more destructive than ordinary dirt. When it reaches unprotected metal, it begins attacking the steel. Over time, corrosion can weaken the strongest components of the vehicle. So how does a garbage truck manage to contain hundreds of liters of this dangerous liquid? The principle is surprisingly simple. Think about an ordinary plastic food container. Turn it upside down, and the soup inside doesn't leak because a rubber seal keeps the lid tightly closed. A garbage truck uses a similar principle. The heavy rear door is locked tightly against the body using powerful hydraulic mechanisms. Between the steel surfaces is a thick rubber seal. This flexible barrier must withstand enormous pressure while preventing contaminated liquid from escaping. As cities grew, leaking garbage trucks became a serious environmental problem. Old vehicles could lose liquid while driving through neighborhoods. The corrosive fluid would drip onto roads and gradually damage the pavement. Engineers were forced to redesign the trucks. The internal architecture of garbage trucks had to be completely redesigned. Engineers created hidden drainage channels and collection tanks at the bottom of the truck body. The liquid squeezed out during compression now flows through internal channels and collects inside these sealed compartments. Modern garbage trucks can safely carry hundreds of liters of this contaminated liquid. The internal surfaces of the tanks are protected with special coatings designed to resist corrosion. Sensors inside the vehicle continuously monitor the liquid levels. This helps prevent dangerous overflow. But now, imagine something else. The mechanical arm reaches toward an ordinary-looking garbage container. Hidden deep inside is an object that refuses to obey the laws of compression. It is about to face a force of tens of tons. What happens when a massive steel plate collides with a hidden danger in complete darkness? A bright flash suddenly illuminates the steel interior of the truck. Then comes a deep, powerful explosion. This isn't a scene from an action movie. It's a real danger that
The steel compression plate moves forward with incredible force. Gas trapped inside a sealed container is compressed. The temperature rises. The container ruptures, and suddenly sparks shoot in every direction. The inside of the truck can turn into a ball of fire within seconds. The driver feels a violent impact. The entire truck shakes. Dark smoke begins appearing in the mirrors. Now, the driver has only seconds to react. If the fire isn't controlled quickly, it can destroy the entire vehicle. Garbage collection crews have strict procedures for situations like this. The driver cannot simply allow a fire to continue burning inside the enclosed loading chamber. The truck must stop immediately. The rear mechanism may be open to dump the burning waste onto the ground. It sounds extreme, but sometimes it's the only way to save the truck. If the fire remains trapped inside the steel body, the entire vehicle can be destroyed within minutes. But why can ordinary household waste catch fire simply because it is being compressed? The answer is physics. Think about rubbing your hands together on a cold winter day. The longer you rub them, the warmer they become. Inside a garbage truck, the same basic principle can occur on a much larger scale. Thousands of objects are being forced against one another under enormous pressure. Friction and heat build up inside the compressed mass. And if a lithium battery is crushed in the process, its internal layers can short circuit. The result?
To survive these dangerous incidents, engineers have transformed the modern garbage truck into a moving steel fortress. The strength of the structure can be compared to a heavy-duty steel safe. If a small explosive object went off inside, the thick metal walls would help contain the energy. The loading chamber is built from thick, high-strength steel, and some modern trucks are equipped with automatic fire suppression systems that can release extinguishing agents directly into the fire. The rise of electronic devices has also increased the risk of battery-related fires. But protecting the truck from explosions and fires is only half the challenge. The next problem is even more dangerous. The machine must transport tens of tons of compressed waste to a landfill, and then it has to unload everything without tipping over. Imagine a massive garbage truck sitting on top of a giant mountain of waste. Suddenly, one of its rear wheels sinks deep into soft ground hidden beneath the garbage. The enormous vehicle begins to tilt, and once the tipping motion starts, it can become extremely difficult to stop.
A conventional dump truck unloads its cargo in a simple way. The entire body is lifted upward by a hydraulic cylinder. Gravity takes over, and the load slides out through the rear. But performing the same maneuver with a fully loaded garbage truck can be extremely dangerous. Tens of tons of compressed waste inside the body form a dense, solid mass. When the truck body is lifted on uneven or unstable ground, the center of gravity rises dramatically. The higher the center of gravity becomes, the easier it is for the vehicle to tip. The truck effectively becomes a giant lever, and even a small change in the ground beneath the wheels can cause a catastrophic rollover. So engineers had to completely rethink the unloading process. Instead of lifting the entire truck body, they developed a horizontal ejection system. During unloading, the truck body remains low and parallel to the ground. This dramatically reduces the risk of tipping. The principle is easy to understand. Think about a medical syringe. When a doctor gives an injection, the plastic cylinder stays still in the hand. Only the internal piston moves. The piston pushes the medicine outward. A garbage truck uses a giant version of the same idea. A conventional dump truck unloads its cargo in a simple way. The entire body is lifted upward by a hydraulic cylinder. Gravity takes over, and the load slides out through the rear. But performing the same maneuver with a fully loaded garbage truck can be extremely dangerous. Tens of tons of compressed waste inside the body form a dense, solid mass. When the truck body is lifted on uneven or unstable ground, the center of gravity rises dramatically. The higher the center of gravity becomes, the easier it is for the vehicle to tip. The truck effectively becomes a giant lever, and even a small change in the ground beneath the wheels can cause a catastrophic rollover. So engineers had to completely rethink the unloading process. Instead of lifting the entire truck body,
they developed a horizontal ejection system. During unloading, the truck body remains low and parallel to the ground. This dramatically reduces the risk of tipping. The principle is easy to understand. Think about a medical syringe. When a doctor gives an injection, the plastic cylinder stays still in the hand. Only the internal piston moves. The piston pushes the medicine outward. A garbage truck uses a giant version of the same idea.
Inside the truck body is a massive steel wall. Engineers call it the ejector plate. The driver activates a control inside the cab. Behind the plate, a powerful telescopic hydraulic cylinder comes to life. It slowly extends forward. With enormous force, it pushes the entire compressed mass of garbage toward the rear of the truck. The rear door opens, and the giant block of waste is pushed out. The truck itself doesn't need to tilt dangerously into the air. This technology dramatically reduced unloading times and helped prevent accidents on unstable landfill surfaces. Once the waste is gone, the massive steel plate slowly returns to its original position. The truck is empty, and it's ready to begin the journey all over again. This highly engineered machine has become such a normal part of city life that most people barely notice it. But what would happen if this carefully designed system suddenly stopped? What if every garbage truck disappeared from the streets? Imagine that. Overnight, every garbage truck in the city suddenly stopped moving. The engines go silent. The streets become strangely quiet. At first, most people don't notice anything. People wake up, make their morning coffee, and carry their garbage bags outside. But this time, nobody comes to empty the containers. The countdown to an environmental crisis has begun. By the third day, apartment courtyards begin turning into blocked zones. Garbage containers overflow. Plastic bags pile up, and mountains of waste begin spilling into the streets. It's easy to understand the problem if you imagine an ordinary apartment where nobody takes out the trash. After several days, garbage bags would fill the hallway and block the doors. Now multiply that situation by an entire city. Sidewalks begin disappearing beneath waste. Drivers struggle to move through narrow streets, and the smell becomes impossible to ignore. By the fifth day, the situation becomes a serious sanitation crisis. The air fills with a terrible odor that can reach even the upper floors of buildings. Without regular collection and compression, organic waste begins decomposing rapidly. And as the piles grow, rats and other pests begin spreading through the city. This isn't just a fictional disaster scenario. History has already shown us what can happen when garbage collection stops.
In 1968, New York experienced a major sanitation crisis during a prolonged garbage strike. For days, garbage piled up across the city. Huge amounts of waste accumulated on sidewalks and streets. The situation became so serious that authorities were forced to respond to a rapidly growing public health emergency. The event demonstrated a simple but important truth. A garbage truck may look like an ordinary steel machine, but in reality, it is one of the barriers separating modern civilization from chaos. Now, imagine the problem continuing for an entire week. By the seventh day, daily life in a major city could be severely disrupted. Mountains of garbage could reach human height. A single fire could become extremely dangerous. Fire trucks and emergency vehicles might struggle to reach buildings through streets blocked by piles of waste. Businesses could be forced to close. Transportation could become difficult, and the entire urban economy could begin slowing down. Without these seemingly ordinary vehicles, a modern city can quickly become
The massive mechanical arm grabs the first overflowing container. Tons of accumulated garbage disappear into the hungry mouth of the compression chamber. Inside the truck, the giant steel plate begins moving again. The sound of crushing metal echoes through the streets. The flow of garbage never truly stops. And that means the battle to keep our cities clean must continue every single day.
Most people never think about these machines. They simply see a garbage truck passing by. But behind that ordinary-looking vehicle is a remarkable combination of hydraulics, engineering, chemistry, physics, and brute mechanical force. These machines lift enormous weights, compress mountains of waste, contain toxic liquids, survive fires and explosions, and transport tens of tons of garbage without collapsing under the pressure. They are the silent sanitation workers of modern civilization. So the next time you carry a bag of garbage to the container, take a second to think about what happens after you walk away. Because somewhere nearby, a steel giant is waiting. And without it, the city you know could change faster than you ever imagined. If you enjoyed this journey inside one of the world's most important machines, subscribe for more fascinating stories about the hidden technology that keeps our modern world running.